Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us. We have a good one for you. We've got Eric Haynes with us. We got Rob Spencer, who's going to be in seat number 2 momentarily. He's a little behind. We're going to talk about this tragedy, this massacre that happened in Rhode Island. Another trans shooter. The phrase trans terrorist is once again, obviously the case. At this point, we have history on our side. We're going to talk about that, but specifically, we're going to talk about how all of the sudden, and it's not just in the wake of this tragedy, it's not just in the wake of, once again, a mental illness revealing itself as a mental illness, all at the same time, we have The Atlantic running headlines about how the trans surgeries, or calling trans surgeries healthcare, is now on its way out. And do you know why? It's because people are winning judgments against these medical barbarians. They're winning judgments against those who have massacred them, people who have now decided to detransition, and they realize they were sold a bill of goods, and that propaganda is real, and they bought into it while the media encouraged it and clapped like seals as people destroyed their lives, ruined their own chances, many of them at having children themselves, all in the name of some sort of woke political sex religion. That jig is up. What does that mean going forward? What did we just live through in the first quarter of the 21st century? What did we just witness? We're going to talk about that and much, much more. The show starts now.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, folks, as always, we want to remind you to like, share, subscribe to this video, to this channel, wherever you're watching, whether it's on Rumble, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on X. And we're glad to be broadcasting again on X America News over on Twitter, or X. Did I just dead name X? I certainly did. We got Eric Haynes with us. Eric, good to be back, or glad to have you back, rather.
Always good to be part of the conversation.
We'll have Rob with us momentarily, we're told. But, who knows? But let's just get right into it, because people are dead, and the police and and the news, they've given more details about this family. This family, from what I can tell, essentially has been in turmoil for a very long time. There was a divorce that happened because obviously this guy had a surgery in 2020. This man, had a surgery. I believe. Clearly had top surgery, but I think he also had bottom surgery. I don't know if that's 100% yet. I've been, of course, that's a very interesting thing to Google, right? But the bottom line is he snapped. He went berserk.
Check your search history.
Yeah, exactly. Who wants to be? Yeah.
Right.
So, but we can get into it, because here is here's the report. One of the reports here over on X. Let's throw this up. We have Roberta. It went by, his real name is Robert. That's what he looks like there, and obviously likes to wear women's clothing. So apparently there was a good Samaritan with a gun, a good guy with a gun. According to the police, that's one of the reasons, why more people weren't hurt. The grandparents, let's go to the New York Post story. Rhode Island trans dad killed his son, his ex-wife, and critically wounded the grandparents. So the grandparents are fighting for their lives. His name is Robert Dorgan, okay, and he obviously, the story, shows up to the high school hockey game and murders his family because they weren't accepting, the way the story goes, according to reports, they weren't accepting of his trans lifestyle. They say that our family's been forever changed by by the tragic events. In addition to the unimaginable loss, their grandparents are currently in critical condition, fighting for their lives. This is again according to the brother. Let's say they lost. So the fundraiser organizer, who is Amanda Wallace Hubbard, and created a GoFundMe page, and that's them there. That's the shooter, the dad. Dorgan's teenage son, Colin, a star multi-sport athlete, was competing on the ice just feet away when his dad launched his heinous rampage, killing the boy's mom and older brother. Colin and his sister, Ava, are now parentless, And a relative has said that Drogan, sorry, was I saying Dorgan earlier? Drogan, my apologies. No, it's misspelled. It's two different places. It's Dorgan here and Drogan here. I think it's Dorgan. A relative said Dorgan has a total of 6 children. Ava, who is working hard as a nursing student. Anyway, it's absolutely insane that something like this happens. And you would think, and I hate this classic whataboutism, what about the media, not covering this. Obviously, they're not going to cover this. If this was a straight white male who had done this, obviously they would be covering this wall to wall, Eric. Are you familiar with this story at all?
A little bit. It's sad that levels of anger that comes out of that transgender movement, and when this is a level of mental illness and frustration that you can't imagine and can't measure, but what you see in videos all the time, in montage videos of if folks do not accept, there's just a level of anger, because and it's usually a lot of men that are transitioning to women, or physically speaking, and for them to not get the acceptance that they desire based on what's in their head, it's just a trend that you can clearly see that they will go from 0 to 100 as far as, their fuse just absolutely blows a gasket.
Yeah, and you can even see the seeds of that. Okay, so here is the trans congressman who dresses like a woman. Kevin Sorbo wrote, "Tim McBride is a man. Community note this if I'm wrong." And this is here is Roberta. Keep bashing us, but do not wonder why we go berserk.
Yeah. Despite the medications and all the things that they do to feminize themselves, the level of anger and aggression that comes out of a lot of these situations, and you see it played out in video clips, like I said, all the time. It is wild how fast things can get out of hand. It's
also wild that what a profound effect the propaganda has had. This is propaganda that is so effective that it ensnared somebody who's in his mid 50s. I think the guy was born in I don't know. I think in the late 60s. Or 70s. Anyway, it's kind of wild when you think about it. How somebody would do this to themselves, and so it's the only if you just look at it from that point, the only answer is we're talking about mental illness here. Mm-hmm. And we're also talking about the spiritual implications of this as well, living in a fallen world, being sinners, going your own path. You're going to find something to worship, right? If you're not going to worship the triune God, you're going to find everybody worships something, right? You're going to find that, and it may be yourself, or it may be trying to challenge the Almighty in terms, really and truly, there's a lot that the whole trans thing is based off of, and it's coveting in a way, coveting the other gender, in a way. Like that's exactly what it is. It's not in a way. It's like, hey, I wasn't born the right way. God didn't know what he was doing. And so I'm going to try to violate really the most basic bedrock of our civilization, and that's the family, men and women, and going forth and multiplying, which apparently he did, but then he said, no, but I'm really a woman. So it's a mental illness that really, if you think about it, is it's difficult to wrap your mind around.
It is. That you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was thinking too. You just cannot wrap your mind around someone with 6 children at that age being so wrapped in what they're worshiping, which is themselves and their transition, and making sure that everyone else accepts that and champions that with them, along with them in their journey, that when they don't get the validation that they want, that they would literally kill family members. Mm-hmm. It's really scary.
We also have this, the Pawtucket shooter's gender identity tied to past family disputes. Okay, so this is from the local affiliate there in Providence. The suspect in the Pawtucket shooting that left 2 dead and 3 others injured Monday had a history of family disputes, some involving conflict over gender identity. Robert Dorgan 56. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 56 years old. 56 years old. Is accused of opening fire at Pawtucket Ice Rink. Okay, late night news conference. Pawtucket Police Chief Tina Goncalves said Dorgan also went by the name Roberta. In 2020, Dorgan went to the North Providence Police Department and reported he had recently undergone transgender reassignment surgery and that his father-in-law wanted him out of their North Providence home because of it. Dorgan told police that his father-in-law, who shares the same surname, threatened to have him murdered by an Asian street gang if he did not move out of their residence, according to court documents. Dorgan who said that he had lived at the home for 7 years, told police that the father-in-law used a derogatory term for transgender individuals to say no such person was going to stay in my house. The father-in-law was charged with intimidation of witnesses and victims of crimes and obstruction of the judicial system, but prosecutors later dismissed the charges. But around the same time, Dorgan's then-wife, Rhonda Dorgan, filed for divorce. Under grounds for divorce, Rhonda initially wrote gender reassignment surgery, narcissistic personality disorder traits. Those reasons were then crossed out and replaced with irreconcilable differences, which have caused the immediate breakdown of the marriage. So then you kind of got to wonder why she crossed those out. I don't know. Maybe you had a trans sympathetic court judge, divorce judge. I have no idea. But obviously having gender reassignment, let's just think, like, assuming he had the bottom surgery and assuming that's what he did, I'm pretty sure that's grounds for divorce. Like, if you can no longer consummate the marriage, then that's...
This is just the worst cocktail of just, everything bad that can go into a situation that then, it's just a series of perpetual unfortunate events that makes it worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And you've got this process playing out over a number of years. No telling what all... we're seeing little clips, but this is the daily life of somebody that's going through that, and eventually their fuse just blows.
Yeah. So here's the... by the way, has Rob texted? I want to make sure. Has he texted at all?
I got my phone on Do Not Disturb.
I just want to make sure he's okay, because he was supposed to be... I knew he was going to be a little late, but I just want to make... Okay, nothing. All right. Okay, so he's probably fine. So then we have... this is the events of... This is what it sounded like.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine?
No. So, that's going to scar people for life.
Yeah, that's a lot of people that are not going to sleep very well for a long time.
And there's a pattern of this. You mentioned the drugs. A lot of, just in terms of the whole medical procedure here, we really don't know what other drugs are at play. Oftentimes, like this happened, I think, with Aubrey Hale, who was the trans shooter in Nashville. I think a lot of times the biological women go berserk because they're taking testosterone, and the testosterone is obviously, your body's not meant to handle that.
Well, this becomes this medical progression. It's like a patient that gets addicted to plastic surgeries and enhancements. Someone going through that, in their mind, they have to get better. We have to take it another step further. We got to do this. We got to add this. We got to add this to the recipe. First, I'm taking these medications. Now I'm adding this one. Now I'm adding this one. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going under the knife and having this done and this done and this done, all in an effort to fix what's going on in their mind of, I think I'm this and I want to be this, so I've got to eventually look this or else no one will take me seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at these pictures and I'm seeing the same things you are. Like, that's a dude, right? And
did you ever see the
to the point to where, well, what do you expect, man?
Did you ever see the South Park episode where they did the trans? They were do the satire on the trans,
yeah.
and you had the guy looked like Macho Man. Did the
voice
Macho Man Randy Savage? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna crush you. I'm gonna win.
Yeah. That was during the sports thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy looks like that. I mean, he looks. It's just absolutely insane.
And your hearts go out to all of those kids because they're in such a tough spot. They don't know what to do.
It's their dad.
It's right.
And I'm sure he's been, I mean, he wasn't always this way. The guy's 56 years old. The trans, 10 years ago, this guy was, I don't know, but I'm assuming he hasn't been on this journey for 10 years. Maybe he has, but it's reasonable to assume his kids remember the guy that was not this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it's just insane. So all this is happening. I want to talk about this from a standpoint of these new judgments that have come out. We have people who have won big money now against doctors or medical groups. I would say I would say they're butchers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. My levels were ridiculously high. Was it too high? I just realized.
No.
I think I did a whole show yesterday with the levels totally higher than they should be. Anyway, so we have all these people. They got two big high profile cases that are finally winning big money against those who did the genital mutilation or the top surgeries on children or people that didn't know what they were getting into. We've got this story here. By the way, welcome to the show, Rob. How you doing, sir?
Man, I'm so sorry. I was skating in sideways. Real estate reared its ugly head again, as always.
At all-time highs. I read that somewhere. Real estate prices doing good at all-time highs. So,
yeah, January nationally was the slowest home sales that we've had in a long time. But here locally, we're doing okay. Thank goodness.
Good. Well, so we were just talking about the obviously the tragedy in Rhode Island and everything else.
Yeah, I was listening.
So I want you to look at this article here. This is from the Epoch Times. 2 high-profile transgender surgery cases head to trial. The Center for American Liberty Attorneys hope that the cases of Chloe and Luca Hain will build on the landmark $2 million Fox variant verdict. Okay, so we've got, the point is there are people now winning these cases to the point where Jeff Younger reminds us that the Atlantic, now this isn't, the Gateway Pundit, this isn't, some right-wing magazine. This is the Atlantic, okay? The tide goes out on youth gender medicine. American doctors are no longer united on the wisdom of medicalizing gender dysphoria in minors by Helen Lewis. This is a big deal. This is a huge shift that the Atlantic is now representing, that saying this, like the transanity appears to be coming to an end, and yet we're still going to deal, and you can talk about that here in a minute, with the consequences for generations, or for a generation at least. But I just want to give a shout out to Jeff Younger, who is, I think, one of the most patient fathers that I can imagine, when his ex-wife, a pediatrician of all people, he says, was stupid enough to believe this transgender nonsense. All you had to do is read the studies with some statistical literacy to see that it was BS. Yeah, she was able to get sole control over my children and almost transition one of my sons. And this has been a huge problem for him. In this really, by the way, if you really want to dive into it, the Texas Supreme Court were complicit in allowing Jeff Younger's ex-wife to abscond with his children to then attempt to trans them over in California.
And we think that is, hey, he's got protection there. He's got the Texas, he's got Texas on his side because it's a red state. But really, as you realize, and what we both know, we all three know, is that it depends on that judge. It depends on whoever is passing that judgment. And unfortunately, what we have is a partial generation of lunacy. We've had a partial generation of individuals who were told. So let's be honest. Like, is it the star of the football team, or the head cheerleader who are deciding that they are transgender. That's just not what's happening. What's happening are individuals who are the outcasts. So we're going back all the way back to school. These individuals who are outcast at a school. We might call them weird or whatever. I might have been weird in high school. Who knows, right? And these individuals now found that they belong. They belong to this bigger thing. And that is the very definition of a social contagion. We're talking about something where people who were victims, and they were bullied, and they were this or that, and all of a sudden, boom, now I'm transgender. Now you cannot say anything about me, or you will be canceled. You cannot come after me. I am now important. I am now significant. I'm not blaming the kids. They got this thing that's going on in their head that says, even though I've got, a penis between my legs, I feel like I'm a woman. My mom has told me that's okay.
Yeah.
My mom has encouraged it because she's going to these rallies. She's going over here and taking me as a child to drag show story time and all of this stuff because she wants me to be involved in this community. You mean to tell me, and this was an old statistic, that there was a 4,400% increase in those who identify as transgender? And you want to tell me that that's just naturally occurring? That is just individuals, and then
it's broken down based on there's a higher percentage in
teenage girls,
and also in blue areas, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you're in even
it's not happening in Indiana.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you've got these kids who are looking for a sense of belonging. They're looking for a place to be. Number one, they don't have Christ in their life, that's a whole other issue. But number two, they're looking for something that's not there, that's not obvious. Boom, I read about this on the internet, and there's all kinds of algorithm manipulation going on, right? Because there's money involved. These clinics that are performing these surgeries, I know I'm on 100 different wavelengths here, but the people that are performing these surgeries, you think that they're not paying, but when you have a $30,000 cosmetic surgery at Bay, what does it matter to pay $500 for ads to put an influencer in front of these vulnerable children and say, everything will be corrected if you just cut your breast off. Mm-hmm. Everything will be corrected if you'll just take these pills that blocks you from entering puberty. Everything will be okay. Even though as many as 80-something% of transgender youth get to adulthood and detransition, which is what Chloe, and I forget her, Chloe Cole, is that what it is? I forget her name. I've watched 100 videos of her talking about this. She is if there is any advocate for the detransition and the that if there's any advocate for the detransitioner who could go after this drug industry, this sick, sinful, Satanist ideology that tells people you're not who you were made to be. Mm-hmm. You're who you feel like.
Yeah.
And therefore, we're not going to treat that mental illness. And I've said it 1,000,000 times. I'm getting all my points out right here. I've said it 1,000,000 times. We don't look at any other mental illness. I'm talking about gender dysphoria. We don't look at any other mental illness the same way that we look at gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is affirmation. Are we giving someone who is anorexic
or schizophrenic, no, you should listen to the voices in your
listen
head.
to those voices. I've said it on the show before, but if you think that an anorexic person, someone is suffering from a mental illness where they look in the mirror, they're skin and bones, they're looking in the mirror and they see a fat person when they're basically a skeleton with skin, are we going to give them bypass surgery, gastric bypass surgery? that would be affirmation
It sure would.
for them.
Yep.
Because they wouldn't have to vomit it up or whatever they do. That's bulimia, but you get what I'm saying. They wouldn't have to have that because they got this surgery that helped them through it. It's the only mental illness that we embrace and we say, you're evil if you talk against it. No, where's the help? Where is the help for these kids? And hopefully it comes with these lawsuits.
I think you're right. But I will say I think we should take a moment to recognize how effective propaganda can be.
Oh, yeah.
And in doing that, I think we should also ask, how are we being propagandized right now on other issues? Or could we be? And I think the answer is yeah, of course we could be. Like, what's going on right now? Because to see something that we think is so absurd, I've said this over the text, I think this is a huge win for Bible-believing Christians. We're not duped by this propaganda because we have something eternal. We have something that's a solid rock to grip to. Like, so we watched this like in absolute horror, but at the same time, knowing that God was in control, of course. But I think the propaganda is something incredible that we witness. We've all wondered. If you go through history in elementary, you think, well, how was this allowed to happen? How did the people? Well, that we just lived through that. We could also take a look at COVID as well. Like, well, it was allowed to happen because there was really good propaganda, and there was not enough people willing to break free of that, and not enough political power. It took us a while to get the political power. Yeah. This wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the American people rejecting it, in mass. So not enough of the propaganda worked, but a lot of it has, to the point where I think there's even a socioeconomic component to it. About 1 or 2 years ago, I think this was probably 2 years ago, I was in a big box store, and I saw this couple with 2 children, and they were obviously poor, right? You could just tell that they didn't have a lot of money. You could tell that the father was definitely blue collar, right? And so you could tell that he worked blue collar. The wife was, I think, into some sort of witchcraft or whatever. I mean, you would know there was some sort of maybe new age spirituality. I don't know, something going on there. But they had 2 boys, and one of them was dressed like a girl in the cart and had long hair and had the nails painted and everything else. And I was just kind of taken aback. Like, how does this happen? How does a family that, I mean, I'm sorry, I think they were pretty poor people, or at least that's how they were dressed. I'm judging a book by its cover, but I'm just telling you this for reference. They seem to be poor, and yet they had bought into this. They were raising one of their sons as a girl right then and there. Mm-hmm. And I asked somebody that I trust, I was like, I just can't believe this, because and they told me that in A Tale of Two Cities, you see something similar to where it's the middle class that tends to resist the trends, but it is the lower class that will try to emulate the wealthy. That the wealthy, and that's very much the case, right? I mean, the wealthy push this, or the well-funded organizations pushed this, whether it was the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NHL having their rainbow hockey night or whatever the case may be. And it's that messaging, that propaganda, that most affected, at least in the book, the people who are on the lower end of the socioeconomic class. I don't know why I bring that up. I just think it's fascinating, and what we've lived through in the first quarter of this century is something that we never need to repeat. So,
how old? Do you know how old the
kids?
Yeah.
Oh, they were, I think, 6, 7.
Okay.
Somewhere. I did not mean to do that, by the way.
Yeah.
I did not mean to do that.
My gosh.
I'm so sorry.
Our children would be going excited. But I wondered, so let's just say they're 7 years old. They're old enough where kids recognize I grew up a very, very poor child. And so kids recognize that. And they do at the age of 7. Well, if you're trying to look for a sense of belonging, and it's not how much money is in my parents' bank account, where do you look?
Yeah, that's a great point.
And if you've got some sort of algorithm that has indoctrinated your parents And it doesn't even have to be both of them, as we've seen. You can just get one of those parents. Like, that's all they got to do is pick off one of them. These algorithms know everything about us. Everything about us. And it is one of those things where this algorithm is all money based. Algorithm, keep you watching. Okay? Someone comes in, they work with that algorithm to get their ad or to get their message, to get their propaganda in front of the right person, because there's always a money trail at the end. These gender affirming clinics don't care about these kids. That's blatantly obvious. All they care about is their bottom dollar. They found a different way to make more money. And they don't have to worry about the insurance agencies at this point, right? Because this is all elective.
Yeah.
Find the right person that's got thousands and thousands. Even if it's a poor child, there are so many organizations that will pay for this stuff for these children. They're creating this incredible, distasteful, harmful thing to our children. They created it, and now we're seeing the effects of it with these lawsuits.
Well, and the couple it was a white family as well, just to be clear. So there's been people that even suggested that because of the anti-white sentiment, that it's a way for people that are sympathetic, like, oh yeah, the white guilt, like, yeah, we've done something wrong, but I'll be the trans thing is appealing because now I'm a marginalized group and I'm no longer the evil white person. So that's also a psychological component behind all of what we've witnessed as well. We're going to take a break and reset. Okay. I'm glad that you got here, man.
Yeah, man, I made it. I was listening, and you said, "Hey, is Rob text in?" And that's when I said the text. Like, no, I'm good. I just had to reroute.
I didn't have my phone. My phone's supercharging over there on the big deal. I've got a thing tonight. So,
yeah.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Brian Norris, retired Army First Sergeant, husband to Kelly, father of 3 amazing girls, and a lifelong Arkansan who puts faith, family, and fair elections first. When Independence County demanded real election transparency, I led the charge, petitioning voters and winning at the Arkansas Supreme Court. Now, Little Rock bureaucrats are punishing counties like Searcy for putting voters first. That's not real conservatism. It's big government overreach in disguise. That's why Trump allies like General Michael Flynn, Mike Lindell, Justice Michael Gableman, Colonel Conrad Reynolds, Senator Wendy Rogers, and Senator Mark Fincham back me. Together, we'll secure Arkansas's elections and inspire the nation. As Secretary of State, I'll implement President Trump's executive order, verify citizenship, replace hackable voting computers, and build trust with verifiable paper ballots. I'll cut red tape for businesses, harness our natural gas and lithium boom, and attract tech jobs to grow Arkansas strong. This is our fight, our future. Join us.
Paid for by Norris for Arkansas.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
All right, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for being with us. Reminder, that's 7weekscoffee.com. Make sure you use the promo code Paul, and you will help pregnancy resource centers. You will help women in crisis choose life instead of death. And you'll also support the show, and you'll get a great bag of coffee. So 7weekscoffee.com. Make sure you use the promo code Paul. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Her last name is Cortez, by the way, and she doesn't know that Cortez was instrumental in getting horses from Spain to Mexico. She decides to take her international tour to I don't know, maybe announce kind of a soft announcement that she's going to try to run for president? Maybe
she's running. There's no unless she suffers some sort of scandal that what's his face that John Edwards that had an affair and had impregnated like whatever. Unless something like that happens, she's running.
I don't even think. I mean, I think at this point that wouldn't even derail anybody on the left.
Things have changed.
I mean, in order for it to derail somebody on the right, I don't even know if it would derail somebody on the right at this point. So
remember John Kerry and Swift boats and. It's like everybody has this thing that comes up. I mean, what would come up with her?
I don't know, but it could be.
She hasn't done anything. She's just been an idiot for years.
What was the guy that yelled, "Yeah"?
Oh, yeah,
remember him?
Right.
Howard Dean.
Howard Dean,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
I wrote a joke on it.
He was out.
We're going all the way to the White House. Yeah. I made a joke about that one
He
time.
said all the states.
Yeah.
We're going to Rhode Island. We're going to Texas.
He lost it.
Yeah, I was. My joke was, how does Howard Dean fly a plane? It's like, well, first he has to figure out what the pitch is, and then he figures out what the yaw is.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Dukakis in the tank with the military helmet on.
All of that, like going back in that, it's like, wow, we used to be a much more serious country than we are now.
Well, but here's the thing:
That's
the
a great point.
conservatives would care about that stuff. The conservatives would care about it. The Democrats would be like, oh, who cares? I mean, they ran Joe Biden. Joe Biden couldn't put two sentences together, and everybody was talking about, he
Corn
declined
pop
over
and
the
hairy
course.
legs.
Yeah, everybody wants to say that he declined over the course of his presidency, which he absolutely did decline.
Yeah.
But it was evident in 2019, 2020 leading up to it. My gosh, man. It's like, true and international advantage man to beat it. Whatever that one was.
Yeah.
You're like,
Used to have the kids come and rub my legs. Get on the hair of my hairy
I
legs.
got the corn pop. I remember there was a guy who was on what was it, Martha's show. Does Martha still have a show on Fox?
McCallum.
Martha McCallum.
Yeah.
I'm sure
She
she
does.
does. I mean,
Yeah. So
The story.
with Martha McCallum. So anyway, he was on there, and this guy was just like, he was trying to give a straight interview, and he just said, you know what, I just want to ask from old corn pop and all that stuff, and Martha didn't get the reference and goes, I'm not sure what that means. And I'm like, oh, Martha.
All right, so the first clip of AOC overseas. Let's ask about. Let's talk. Is she overseas? She is, right? Yeah, she was overseas for this. I'm making sure. So she's you had Marco Rubio giving a pretty good speech over in at Munich. Just ask yourself this question: if somebody were to say, "Hey, Rob, hey Eric, is black culture a thing? Does black culture exist in your mind?" If somebody asked me that question, I'd be like, black culture is a thing. All right, well, listen to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on white culture.
There's a very big difference between whiteness and national, like your actual culture, right? Whiteness is an imaginary thing. Being German is real. Being Italian is real. Being English. These are rich cultural heritages that are based on values, and they are so much a part of what make our cultures and our societies what they are. There's a very big...
What exactly is she saying here? Matt Walsh says this is total nonsense. She'll insist that brown people are real and black people are real, and even people of color are real, and yet white people are imaginary. Totally indefensible BS, horse crap rooted in her open disdain for white people.
What I think she's trying to say is that, all right, so if you take, look, we're trying to discern this. Let me try to discern
what
this.
I think she's trying. Okay, yeah.
Careful.
Yeah, she's trying to say that if, let's take if you're an American in New York City, which is a melting pot, and you've got these Irish, Italian, even German descent, all of these individuals living together in the same borough, right? She's trying to say that whiteness doesn't have a culture by itself, okay? And that these individuals, their culture is more derived from being Italian or being German or all this stuff. And what it goes to show you is because she wants to say, hey, with Hispanic or Latino or whatever, however you want, what the proper way, like this, black people. Like, are you trying to say this? So whiteness, we get to diversify. Italian, German, all this stuff. The white people diversify because there is no white culture. But the black people, you've got, okay, you want to tell me that a black person in Alabama is the same as a black person in Oregon? You want to say that a black person in Alabama is the same as a black person in the continent of Africa? You want to try to tell me that there's not diversity within the black skin or the brown, however you want to call it? You want to try to say that there's no diversity there? Yes, white people are different. Yes, whether you're Italian or German or whoever, and that's just because that's what she brought up.
Right, but I would say from an American context, because I think that's obviously what she's coming from, it's like, yeah, I mean, generally an American, when it comes to whiteness, when this country, now we're, what are we, 56% white, used to be 90% white in the 60s or 50s or whatever. I mean, it was just generally understood that if you're American, you're probably going to be white and you're a descendant from Western Europe. Just,
Right.
just
Sure.
And there was nothing controversial about that.
Nope.
And with that came a culture. Yes, it was an amalgamation of cultures from those Western European countries. Yeah, but generally those countries had existed and gone to war with each other for, hundreds of years and had kind of figured things out. And then there was the immigration and
people came into They came into Ellis Island. You had Italians. You had all these people.
Yeah.
They came in, but they assimilated.
Yeah, it's different.
They brought some of their things there, their culture, but they assimilated.
Right.
She's trying to say that whiteness, it doesn't matter the level of assimilation.
Yeah.
You're just not a thing.
Well,
you're
it's
imaginary.
It's not a thing until like radical leftists, or professors at woke universities call it a thing. Because I'm old enough to remember when they said that showing up to work on time or showing up to an appointment on time was part of like institutional racism and white supremacy. And I'm like, wait a second. So are you saying that white culture is? I mean. Okay, I'll take
right.
I'll take that description, being punctual. But there are leftists that have even said that. So the AOC and this whole ilk, they just kind of change based on whatever the situation is. They really want to eat their cake and still have it, depending on, if they want to criticize us, then institutional racism is based on whiteness. Or if there's people starting to say, wow, there's a lot of anti-white bias in the country right now. I'm starting to notice that. Now they say, y'all don't even have a culture. Like,
Right.
What are you talking about? There's no culture to war against. It's just very odd and transparently BS, as Matt Walsh says.
At least in this situation, we're able to make a contextual point about her word salad. With Kamala Harris, you could never. And the reason I bring the comparison up is because everything is by comparison to someone else or something else, and those two are now seen in a lot of pictures together as front runners for this 2028. Bring it on, but. Kamala Harris's word salad, you could never. It never even had a point. AOC's point may be wrong, but at least she's making in her mind, a coherent point, other than just repeating the question back to the questioner in
word salad.
Word salad,
Well,
yin-yang circle.
So she's not Kamala Harris for sure, but she doesn't know. Let's just say she probably failed geography.
It is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator. And it is not
just a problem.
Oops.
Well,
yeah.
It
I
happens.
mean, she was on a roll there towards the end.
Well, just she's speaking so
God bless the people that started clapping without thinking.
Yeah, they're like, oh well, and of course they probably had a second thought of like, where is it?
Wait a minute.
Where is it? I mean, it's close. Now, listen. Here's the thing. What she's doing is she's pandering. Okay, she is a panderer.
100%.
Okay, she is the definition of a Hillary. Hillary Clinton was, and I'm just going to tell you this, Hillary Clinton was 100 times better than AOC.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Hillary Clinton, and Trump even said that. He's like, you got this idiot AOC and you got this idiot, Kamala and whoever else he was talking about. He was like, and then you had, or Gavin Newsom. Yeah, that's who it was. And then you had Hillary Clinton over there. And he goes, at least Hillary Clinton is competent. She hates me. She's got Trump derangement syndrome, but at least she's competent. Does anybody believe that Hillary Clinton's not smart? You're a fool if you think that Hillary Clinton is not intelligent, but you're absolutely a fool if you believe AOC is intelligent.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that.
This grinds my gears, too, about politicians that do the Spanish twist when it comes to the name.
Yeah, she's
you're talking in English, and then you get to Maduro real quick, and then you go right back, and it grinds my gears. I hear it on mass media news all the time.
It's ridiculous. I hated it. That was the most annoying part about Obama's administration was, it used to be Qatar, and that's how we said it, and then it was Qatar, and then Barack Obama was like, there was an earthquake in Chile, and he was, Chile. And it's just, whatever. It's a total virtue signaling is what it is.
Total virtue signaling.
At least she's, Hispanic, Latina, whatever you want to call it. At least she's that when, rolling her R's. But man, when
white people do it,
you see a white guy and he's live in front of this or that, whatever, and he's like,
there was an SNL skit about
Pablo Escobar
with the actor from NYPD Blue, and he was in it's pretty old too.
Dennis Franz,
and they were ordering Mexican, and and the guy that's Hispanic is like, I'll take an enchilada or an enchilada, and all the white people are like, I'm sorry, what? And he's like, an enchilada, and they're like, what? And so finally he is, an enchilada, and I said an enchilada, and they're like, oh, okay.
Oh, now we understand.
Yeah, now we understand. It was classic. And here we go. Here's another one. This is just straight up. This was my favorite one because it's just exposing her as a Marxist.
Marco Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture. I think it's also important to note how thin that foundation is. Culture is changing. Culture always changed. Culture for the entire history of human civilization has been a fluid, evolving thing that is a response to the conditions that we live in. And so they want to take this mantle of culture. At the end of the day, though, it is very thin. And so the response that we have to have is, again, it's material, it's class-based, it's common interest. Marco Rubio's speech.
What the hell is she talking about?
She's talking about materialism.
Yeah.
I mean, she says it at the end there. If this is about getting an equality of stuff, and that's only going to happen if you take from this very thin Western culture. By the way, this is the same speech where she's saying that white culture, whiteness is kind of made up, and yet then she's saying, Western culture. To me, the whole thing is a contradiction.
What I heard. Go ahead.
Now you can easily twist the wording around and make Marxism and socialism sound really good,
Sure.
And very appealing, and that's why I think they've poisoned a lot of the minds of youth and college age and young folks in this country. A lot of them are waking up to the nonsense that it is, but it's stuff like that. It's the articulation and wordsmithing of things to make this sound appealing, like this is the way culture and society should operate and how economics should be.
Yes.
And how we should all take care of each other and everybody should be elevated through all of these things. It's just getting back to the pandering thing that you mentioned just a while ago. That's what it's what it is. It's pandering to this wrong way of looking at economics. In general.
Well, I just can't stand her ripping on ripping on us for a lack of culture as a white person or whatever, and then saying that Marco Rubio, who is the Secretary of State for the United States, which last I checked, it's in the West, is giving a speech that's very Western culture. Yes.
Yeah.
Marco Rubio it's United States first. It is the United States of America is first. And for her to rip on that and say she's essentially saying this is an outdated, this is because culture is ever changing. It's the biggest workaround. She won't come out and say it. She won't come out and say it. It's the biggest workaround to say the American way of life, the United States of America, that way of life is old school. It's not going to work anymore. This whole proud to be an American, this whole I want to be an American above all else, it's nothing. We are simply a country with no borders that has a hodgepodge of people in it. And the best thing that we can do is try to take care of everybody in it. Well, come one, come all.
And that's insane.
And when you boil down their arguments to that, it all falls in line with that. Yeah. It is come in, we'll take care of you. The industry, the business, the evil men bad, white men bad. This Western culture, when we used to have 90% white used to be the population. Now what are we at? 60%?
56 or 53, I think. I can't remember if it's which one.
Sure. And so you're trying to sit here and say, well, yeah, culture is changing and this way of life must change. No, they came here to America.
That's exactly right.
And
they came here.
Yeah, and yet I'll have liberal friends of mine sending me messages saying that I'm not being Christ-like enough for not buying into this messaging, and that I'm spitting on the Statue of Liberty, and that I am, all of these ick and ist words that go along with it for not going along with that stuff right there.
Yeah.
That's the tough thing about it, is that the conversation eventually devolves into this. We don't buy into this because we can see plainly what's happening, and because we can see that and we can assess and we know what's going on and we vote accordingly, we're unchristian.
Yeah, and really fundamentally comes down to the question of what is an American. And for so long, the idea is like, well, anybody can be an American. It's like, okay, well, anybody can come here and come here legally. But if we really think about what an American is, you think of, our ancestors fought to secure the liberty. There's a rugged individualism there, and there's a self-reliance that's there. There's obviously a Christian majority Protestant ethic that all of that stuff sprang out of that. And so the idea that, well, anybody can become an American. Well, yeah, maybe on paper, but then if you get here and now you have political views, or you're going to use the political system to destroy the country.
Right.
It's a joke that just, well, anybody can become an American. Well, maybe on paper, but it's not good for the country to import a bunch of people here from the third world that
don't assimilate,
that don't value what it is that America became.
So you've got you've got these people that are coming from Somalia, whatever the country is. Let's just say they're Muslim, and they come here and they go to where is it, Dearborn, Michigan, there, where they've basically taken over that city. And they come in there like, hey, listen, if you want to stop 5 times a day and pray to Mecca because that's your religion, do it. You can't do it in the middle of the street, as some do. Mm-hmm. And getting elected and becoming in positions of power, whether it be on the city council or becoming the mayor of the town, and then coming in and saying, we're going to implement our religious beliefs through the government. That's not what we're designed to do. We were built to be a Christian nation. That's our forefathers. All of them were, well,
it was assumed. It was an assumption, yeah. They never thought that the First Amendment would be used to say, oh, that means mosques need to be put up. I mean, it's just not historically.
What that is like you fled a certain way of life, and you're coming here and you want to recreate that way of life here. Mm-hmm. It wasn't working there.
Look, man, I got a confession. I don't know why it's a confession. I just know that So I started reading a book by Raps Pale called Camp of the Saints. It's like a Orwell 1984 type novel, but it is widely criticized, like as being a white supremacist book or whatever. Matter of fact, it's in French, and so it was translated recently in 2020. And so the book, it was sent to me by a friend, said you need to read this. I said, oh, okay. And the first quarter of the book is explaining the book. It's saying, hey, this is what the left says about it. They're going to say that it's terrible and it makes immigrants and it paints them in a terrible way of life. But this guy actually was incredible. The author, went on a 3,000-mile hike from Canada to New Orleans, and when he was a kid, and he loves cultures, but he specifically was obsessed in a mild way with how cultures disappear, whether it was whether it was Indians or whatever. And so his whole thing was, well, how would the European culture ever disappear? And the whole premise of the book is that you've got France that is so woke, and it is incredibly spooky. He wrote this in the 70s, how it is exactly the same. How all of a sudden there is an armada of Indians, an armada of boats run down old shiplighters that have invaded or are about to invade France, and they don't have guns, they don't have anything like that. They're just poor, and the entire government of France, they can't bring themselves to even defend their own borders from it, and they just let them in, and it is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
The parallels between that mentality and now, and how a European civilization would, and it's all from supposed colonial guilt, right? It's all from that mindset.
And let's take what you said to the most disgusting endpoint, which is that, no, you won't create Mogadishu here in the streets of Minneapolis, because you're going to come here and you're going to find a bunch of idiots that you can defraud, and you can set up systems to take millions and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars away from taxpayers that will write you checks and let you funnel millions of dollars in briefcases back over to your country, because and you'll drive around in Lamborghinis here in this country. Right. No, you won't create Mogadishu here. You'll find a bunch of idiots that you can take advantage of.
It's the same mentality of you are allowing this fraud within the government. It's the same mentality as the people on the other end of the line trying to get you to send gift cards to pay your IRS debt and defrauding.
Yes.
And I watched this video, and it talked about it. It just said, when you are the reason that those fraudsters can sleep at night is that the white man is the devil, and that our way of life is of Satan. And so, therefore, everything that they do is justified.
Morally correct.
So fraud, we're just taking this money from these white devils. And what are we doing? It's happening in Dearborn, Michigan. It's happening in Minnesota. It's happening in these extremely blue cities, but it's coming to a red city near you, right? What's happening is that we are allowing this to happen in the name of political correctness, because we don't want to stand up and say your Muslim faith is not conducive with what we're trying to do here in America. It is not conducive to what we have built America on. So don't bring that BS in here. And we won't say it. We won't say it. Now, influencers are saying it on TikTok. People are saying it on Twitter. But our leaders won't say it. And until our leaders say it, we're still in danger. We are getting screwed. And if nothing changes, we are going to not exist. I don't want to be dramatic about it, but our way of life will not exist. We're already seeing it in small scales in Dearborn, Michigan, and places in Minnesota. It will not exist.
Literally, a Muslim prayer call went out over New York City earlier this week, and they got it on film.
Yeah, I didn't even bring up Mamdani there.
Yeah, I mean,
infiltrated the largest city in America.
If you go watch that video, and we played it yesterday on the show, it's like we lost a war.
Yeah.
Likewise with the 80-foot tall Indian pagan god statues, or 90-foot tall down in Texas. You look across the landscape, and it's like we've lost a war.
Call me a racist. I don't care.
No, man, you're rightfully fired up. No.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, man. And there was a politician here, and he posted when there was a reference to the dogs versus Muslims, because Muslims believe that dogs are, unclean, they're all this stuff or whatever. And I'm like, you come into my house and try to take my Bucky boy. You try to take my little guy Buck, and I'm going to...
Yeah, I did see that. People were saying, that'll wake some leftist Karens
and the congressman said, if my choice is between dogs and Muslims, the choice is easy for me. And what he's trying to say is the Muslim way of life, versus me having a dog, I'm 100% choosing the dog. That's an easy choice for me.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be. Yeah, I mean, I love dogs. I love animals. I want to be kind to my animals. Certainly.
You don't have any animals, do you?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
White German Shepherd. We call.
Oh,
him.
that's right. I saw him. He's very regal.
Yeah, his nickname is Privilege. That's what we call him over there.
They're the boss of the house. If you're a dog lover, and don't get me started on these people who have dogs that keep them outside. Screw you.
Yeah,
you don't have dogs.
Yeah, we're indoor dog people.
We're
as
indoor
well.
dog
We recently
people as
got
well.
a cat, which didn't ever want that, but that happened. I went on a 3-day deer hunt in the fall, and
Came home with a cat.
Came home to
Came home to a cat.
I came home to a cat, and so
Yeah, me too. My 6-year-old met me at the garage one day and said, "Hey, Dad, we have cats." And I said, "Was that an S? Was that an S on there?"
No.
They had adopted a brother and sister.
that's
So
not good, man.
we have 2 cats and
well,
1 dog now.
You know, they make the kids happy, so
Yeah.
it is what
Anyway,
it is.
all right.
Supposed to teach them responsibility. So tomorrow on the program, Brian Norris, the Republican candidate for Secretary of State here in Arkansas, will be back in studio. So we're excited. Early voting kicks off, I think, today for the primary elections here in Arkansas. Also want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, 7 Weeks Coffee, and Sherrod Chiropractic. We really appreciate that. God bless everybody out there watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.